County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Let us stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. I'd like to start off by opening this meeting to, first of all, let me just say, welcome to this meeting. For all of you that's coming out tonight, glad to see you. Can you hear me? Am I loud enough? Okay.
No.
Need to crank me up?
Glenn, can you cut the volume up back here?
Testing. Testing. Is this better? No, it's on. It's on. Yep. All right, I'll talk louder.
Well, just pull it up closer to you, Mr. Palin.
You're going to get your teacher's voice going, I guess.
Yes. Yes. All right. I'd like to say welcome to the meeting tonight. Glad to see you out and looking forward to hearing from you all as you give your public input or any other input that it's time for you to give it. At this particular time, I'd like to open up the public input session for anyone who want to say anything or comment on anything or talk about anything that's not on the agenda for tonight. And I remind you, you have 5 minutes time period. And when your time period is almost up, I will raise the 1 minute card. All right. Yes, sir. I don't remember which one. Okay. State your name and your district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Administrator
You can relax the
Gill.
mask if you like.
I'll try without it.
Okay.
With it. See how we go.
All right.
I believe Mr. Lyson's going to talk a little bit this evening about tire disposal. And in earlier recent dialogue on the internet between he and I, he mentioned that the county eliminated the $1 fee for tire disposal. I looked it up in March of 2020. Well, I consider myself a fairly informed citizen, and I knew nothing about it. That's a year ago. I checked with Charlie. He's a fairly informed citizen. He knew nothing about it. Just lay that on for you. Second, our hospice turkey shoot regatta is coming up. May I approach the bench?
Yes. All right. Thank you.
We're going back to our traditional 3-day event. This will be our 26th year. I believe Mr. Bellows sailed with us last year. And that was a unique event. We just sailed in and out with no land activities. Now we're back to a 3-day event. I want to say that with boat tax relief, hospice and this regatta count on a lot of sailors. Each boat that shows up is worth $600 to us. Each boat. So sailors have money in their pocket that they don't have to pay for car tax. I mean, that'll be later. Boat tax. Excuse my flub here. And they spend it on another worthwhile thing. So I wanted to say that. As a segue, concerning the lost revenue from eliminating the boat tax, Mr. Westbrook mentioned that as an aside on April 1st. I thought that was a joke, April 1st. Mr. Rowe, would you put up that slide, please? Here is a comparison of this board's tax cuts since 2011. The top line represents the boat tax. There's $2,445,600 that isn't coming into the county because you gave boat tax relief to the citizens. But I want to remind you that this board and your predecessors reduced the property tax twice, 2 cents in 2011, 1 more cent in 2013. The result of that is $9,052,000 of revenue that's not coming into the board. Now, that's tax relief for our citizens, and I applauded that. And just wanted to say that I hear laments about the boat tax. Nobody talks about this. Thank you. When I hear about the boat tax, I'm going to show this slide every time, updated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone else here? Mr. Costello?
Charlie Costello, District 2, George Bott, District 1. Several things. 30 years ago, tomorrow, I retired from federal service, and Saturday marks 30 years we moved down here. And it's been a wonderful 30 years, wonderful people and so on. I found it very interesting. This was an item we picked up when we came in. Lancaster County, a profile community, 1987 to 88. Interestingly enough, it was published by Virginia Power. But anyway, what it found interesting, part of it was agriculture. The 1982 census for agriculture, there were 106 farms in Lancaster County of an average size of 205 acres. You do the math, it's almost 22,000 acres in agricultural farms. Land use now agriculturally is 8,500. A lot of building, a lot of things. And a lot more is going to go out when we have solar facilities. This little book, this is going over to the Historical Society for their files so people can look at how we were. This is a comprehensive plan. There's only one name in here that was here at the time. Jack Lawson was the land use director. It's dated 28 December 2000. And it lays out where we're going and how we're doing things for that. And this is also going to, because these things are changing. But one of the things I found interesting is the land use facilities and the maps in here that shows what we have, floodplains and the Chesapeake Bay protection areas. This is what it was. All the red is the floodplains. Many of those, all those floodplains are still here. It's a question of how much land we're going to really be using into solar, because that's protected 100-foot RPA and also waterfront overlay protection. And that was put in the ordinance. Jason, remember when you said that? So that's going to have an impact, quite a big impact, about where we go with solar in the very near future. And that's part of what we've been talking about. But this is how we are. And now we are not going through the comprehensive plan. When we're doing this, we're going to sneak it back afterwards. We start this thing. And I thank you, gentlemen, for trying to do it the right way with the process of doing the comprehensive plan first. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Costello. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Members of the board, Mr. Gill and council, my name is Wally Dawson. I'm a retired professional engineer. I spent almost 50 years of that career in the design aspects, manufacture, installation, operation, and maintenance of fiber optic systems under the oceans all over the world. So many more kilometers than you could ever put in all of Lancaster County. I'm here tonight because I would like to support, by the way, I'm a resident of District 2. I'm here because I'd like to support the most recent presentation made by Mr. Carr of All Points Broadband at the April 7th meeting of the Lancaster Broadband Authority. In my opinion, the proposal he described represents a great opportunity to realize the benefits of fiber to the home in the unserved areas of Lancaster, the currently unserved areas of Lancaster County. The LCBA has correctly recognized for a long time that fiber to the home is the most robust way to provide high-speed internet service to Lancaster because, one, it offers low downtime, meaning it works almost all the time. It's not susceptible to atmospherics, meaning it doesn't make a difference if you have a thunderstorm. It does not suffer from latency, that's the resultance of path length, like most of the current satellites, which are 22,500 kilometers away, setting over the equator. But most importantly, two most important things. First is, it is the most future-proof method for that kind of communication known to engineers today. Secondly, because of that, it can accommodate the growth in usage that's been predicted for a long time. Now, this is no small thing. So to put that in perspective, the Wall Street Journal on October 26 noted that the average usage from U.S. households was about 400 gigabits a month. Well, think about all of the satellite services and wireless services you hear about that talk about a monthly allowed usage of 25 or 30 or 50. This is already 8 times bigger than that. Today's usage, if you went to Virginia Beach or Richmond, that's what you'd be seeing. On top of that, the fiber can accommodate the growth, which is a growth rate of something in the order of 100% in somewhere between 1 or 2 years every year. Now, you might say nothing can grow like that. Fact is, if you look at the last 30 years, it has grown like that. So it's real, and so it's a good thing. So because of all those attributes, the proposal is very attractive. Furthermore, it's very affordable. The price is really good. Now, I fully recognize an offer is not a deal. So there's a lot of due diligence to do, a lot of studying to do, but it represents an opportunity that's just too good to miss. So I would just like to first thank the board for the support they've given for the Broadband Committee so far. I think hiring a new executive director is an enormously positive step. So I really thank you for that. I'd like to say on behalf of the citizens, though, a world-class internet service is what Lancaster needs to support the people here who actually are trying to live in a digital environment, a fast evolving one. I would also like to say it represents a lot of people. We always talk about school children, we always talk about many constituents, but let's remember that this county is about 35% by population, elderly people who depend on this for medical appointments, telemedicine, filing insurance claims, and actually having doctor's visits by video. So I think it offers a wonderful opportunity. I'd like to ask you to support the Broadband Authority in any way you can. I would offer my help. If you know a way I can help you, I'm glad to do it. I know other people who are experts in different facets of this who would be glad to help also. And to Mr. Larson and Mr. Palin, this is your district. This is your districts. This is a big deal for District 1 and District 2. So with that, I just say thank you for the opportunity to speak. And again, my offer is open anytime you want to call.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dawson.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input and your support. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Is there anyone on the Zoom meeting out there? If there's anyone that's want to participate remotely, would you and would like to make a comment during the public session on anything that's not related to the agenda that we're going to talk about tonight, would you raise your hand? You do that by, on the icon near the bottom of your computer screen, you press star 9 on your, or on your telephone, you press star 9, and when you're unmuted, state your name, district in which you live, and and then make your comments. No takers, okay. Okay, at this point then, I'm going to consider the public input session now closed, and we're going to go with old business. Dr. Westbrook.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like for this board to formally request that Jerry Davis of the Northern Neck Planning District Commission come before us and give us a presentation about all of the benefits that Lancaster County receives from our contribution to the Northern Neck Planning District Commission. He listed many when he was here for the budget, and I asked him at that time if he would be willing to come before us and elaborate on that, and he said he would. So I think he may just be waiting for a formal request from us, and it ought to be separate from the budget process. So I would like to ask him to come the next month or two, whatever fits in with our agenda, if the board agrees with that.
Okay. You want to make a statement? No.
I'm in favor of that. I think there's a lot of good things that are being worked on, and I've become aware of, and I think it's good that the board be briefed on, and the public become more aware of them, so as soon as he can schedule that.
Okay.
Okay, you'd like to put that in the form of a motion then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I move that we invite Mr. Davis from the Northern Neck Planning District Commission to come before us and give a presentation on all of the benefits that Lancaster County receives from our contribution to the Northern Neck Planning District Commission, and that request be made so that he might be able to come in the next month or two.
All right. All have heard the motion. Are you in favor of the motion? All say it aye.
Aye.
All right. All opposed, nay. All right. Ayes have it. Okay.
Thank
Let's-
you.
All right. Let's move on. VDOT? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Okay.
Under old business, I've asked our county administrator to address the tire situation, which we talked about, based on conversations he might have had with the Lively Woodyard. And just to add to that, as Mr. Bott mentioned this week, he and I had some exchanges on this, and I became aware, let me rephrase that. I was reminded that he came before the board a little over 3 years ago with some thoughts and ideas. And so I would like to close the loop on that, given that period of time. You've all seen the traffic because you all were opened up on it. I do not agree with the proposals to have all hazardous type items, TVs, so on and so forth, go to every single collection point all the time, anytime. I think that's untenable. I just don't think that'll work. I don't think we can ask our attendants to keep the kind of neat collection point that I've seen them keeping. And there just simply isn't enough storage area, that I think. So I would not go down that road. But I think we still have an issue going on, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gill with respect to whether or not we charge, as Mr. Bott proposed in his proposal over 3 years ago, we charge commercial people that are in the business of selling and servicing vehicles on their tires. We charge them and not the citizens. So with that, Mr. Gill, please.
Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Larson has stated, I did a little bit of research. In FY18, Mr. Self collected 65 tons of tires. That was under the old contract. The county pays RL Self for all of the tires that he collects based on a tonnage, and that cost the county $10,995 in FY18. In FY19, he collected 38 tons, and that cost the county $6,446.
This is over and above the contract.
This is part of the contract for the tire collection.
Okay.
In FY20, he collected 69 tons, which is very close to what he collected in FY18. But he was under the new contract rate of $225 per ton, which cost the county $15,562. So far in FY21, he has not taken any tires to the recycling facility that he usually takes them to. And so that's one reason why he has many tires stacked up at the site now. The recycling facility sometimes shuts down when they get enough tires that they have to recycle and they don't take any more. So it's been a combination of that and that the price that they charge, it fluctuates. So for those two reasons is why Mr. Self has not carried any tires in FY '21. But he's got many up there now, and he's going to have to make something happen. I talked with him extensively today, and he has no problem with residents bringing tires in free of charge. We used to charge $1 per tire. Private citizens and business owners had to come here, pay the $1 per tire fee, get a receipt from our accounts administrator, then take that receipt to RL Self to be able to dump the tires. In March of 2020, as Mr. Bott said, you all did away with that $1 fee, so tires have been going to RL Self's facility free of charge. In trying to find a way to fix this problem, Mr. Self and I talked today, and he thinks that the tire situation should be treated similar to how we conduct the wood waste management there. In other words, private citizens being able to dispose of tires there free of charge, but that commercial businesses be charged for them. Any commercial business is going to charge a tire disposal fee when you buy tires. And the complaint from Mr. Self, some of his employees, who are also citizens of Lancaster County, is that they're charging a fee for it at their business and then bringing it to the county free of charge and disposing of them. And so, that, in their minds, that's not correct. So I think the direction that I need from you all is, first of all, do you want to follow that path? Allow private citizens to continue to dispose of tires there free of charge, not have to get a receipt or anything from the county, but have commercial businesses pay for the service. Mr. Self does not want to collect money at his business for the tires. What he has suggested is go back to the old way it was done for commercial businesses, have them come here, pay for their tires, get a receipt, and then go to Mr. Self. And it would not be a flat tire fee because you've all bought tires. You know that a car tire is different from a truck tire, is different from a tractor tire. They all have different disposal fees. So he suggested the same thing, that the county should come up with a plan and charge these commercial businesses so much for a car tire, so much for a truck tire, so much for a tractor tire. And in my mind, the thought would be whatever they charged the consumer is what we should charge, so it's basically a wash. So,
Do we have the minutes that were available from when we made this decision? Because it's my understanding that that was what was the prerogative of this board anyhow. Was
Well, it
not
would have
that
been-
commercial businesses were to, I feel like the mic isn't working that well tonight.
It's not.
It's not.
And I'm speaking, I can't get any closer to it.
yeah. Glenn, did you ever turn up the volume on these speakers? Can you do it? Okay. All right. It was March of 2020. I mean, we'd have to go back and look at the minutes.
Well, I mean, it's
remember
my
that.
feeling, I mean, I'm not speaking for the rest of the board, but I feel like the board made that kind of, that was the direction we were headed anyhow, just as it was with the wood. Because I thought we had a discussion about
I think it may have been one of
commercial.
those things of unintended consequences, where we didn't expect the commercial folks. And I like what Mr. Gill and Mr. Self have worked out. I like that exact approach. And I think that what will happen is if we set our fee rate schedule exactly what they charge, we'll find that they'll take it to the recycling center themselves probably, rather than mess around coming up here, getting the chit, going to the wood yard, so on and so forth. And so then it will cease to become a problem from the standpoint of storage and so on and so forth. So I would even put it in the form of a motion that we do it exactly like Mr. Gill and Mr. Self have worked out, and that it be based on the charges for what the commercial tire people charge. And I would further take that motion and say that we do not consider hazardous waste coming into the collection points on a regular basis from anybody, that we continue with the individual collections, even if we made, in the interest of trying to improve the litter situation, we have one or two more of the collections. To me, if people are allowed to take things like TVs and that sort of thing every day to the collection point, it's probably not going to help the litter situation any more than the fact that normal trash now can go every single day. And if you follow that type of logic, then there wouldn't be a single piece of litter on the road out here either. So I would ask that we not consider that, because I just don't think that's something that we can handle at our 3 collection points.
I agree with you, Mr. Lawson. We can't handle any more trash. I can tell you that at the Kilmarnock site. No way we can handle any more trash that's coming in.
I know with the
Yeah,
Kilmarnock
we got a big problem down there.
They
And,
get, with the increased people coming in the summer, they just get inundated with regular.
right, and I was thinking along the lines that Mr. Bellows, I thought we had covered that, but it's probably something that got, caught up in it. I thought we had covered the commercial thing, but it's probably one of those things that we talked about and didn't, really follow through on. The only thing I was thinking about, this responsibility falls on the staff here, probably on Betty, I guess. I mean, is that okay? I mean, she got enough time? I mean, I don't know how.
Well, she used to handle it for citizens as well.
Yeah.
So it would just go back to just commercial. And from what she's told me, it was just a handful
Okay.
of commercial operators who would come in.
Okay.
Well, I would entertain a motion at this point.
Well, I think he just made
I
it.
move that, that we direct staff to set a fee schedule and begin charging those people, commercial persons who are engaged in selling and servicing tires, set that fee schedule and charge them. That our policy of citizens bringing tires for free remain the same. And that we not consider any further the idea of taking hazardous waste to collection points on a daily or regular basis. That would be my motion.
Could I ask, Mr. Lawson, you would want to set the fee based upon the cost that the commercials?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Based-
because we need an administrative fee schedule.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
That would be a fairly simple way of doing it.
I don't usually do this, but there's a businessman out here got a question. Yes, sir. And this would affect him. Yeah.
Wasn't here to talk about this particular subject, but, thank you. I'm Jeff Brown. I'm one of the owners of Earth Resources. We obviously use a lot of tires in our business, and we have in the past come up and gotten tickets to take up to self, and it was $1 per tire. We don't sell tires. We're not in the commercial business of selling tires, but we do buy a lot of tires, and we go through a lot of tires, and we have excess tires that we have to get rid of. So I'm not opposed to paying $1 a tire, but if you're gonna do the fees based on the size of the tires, it was a tractor tire, truck tire, whatever, it would be nice to know what those fees are if you're gonna do that. Does anybody know what the difference is?
May I ask a question? Is it possible for you to take the tire back to where you bought it? Because you paid a fee to have it recycled. And if you take it back to them, it's their responsibility, and that would seem fair to me.
I don't think it works that way. They're not recycling facilities.
No, but they sold you the tire, and you had to pay a fee to get it recycled.
I
You've already
don't make the
paid
rules of
money.
Mr. Westbrook on all that, so
They won't do that.
we can't take it back where we bought it. They're not a recycling facility.
You put the tires on your own trucks at your facility, right?
Yes, in a lot of
Yeah,
cases.
so see, that's the difference.
It's a
wholesaler.
Yeah.
Oh,
Buy
you-
wholesale.
Yeah, we're buying from a
Buy
wholesaler.
directly from a
Yeah.
wholesaler.
You put it,
He
okay.
puts
Yes,
them
sir.
on at his facility.
I just want some clarification.
But unless I'm mistaken, he would not pay a fee because he's a user.
No, I understand now that
Right.
you don't
Well,
go there and they put it
under the
on.
way
your
the
vehicle.
motion was set forth, those in the business
Yes.
of selling
Yeah.
and
So he would be,
servicing
He would be-
the
he would be
tires.
considered like a citizen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, well, that's what I was the clarification I was trying to get, being you all were talking about it, was whether or not we're considered a citizen or a commercial operation. I mean, we're a commercial operation, but not selling tires.
Right.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
very much.
All right. Like I said, I usually don't allow this, but since we were talking about this, for clarification for us and for that business owner, I allowed that.
That is something that I think
Yeah.
we need to make sure it's
Yeah.
clarified.
Yeah.
And the other thing, while we discussing this, we need to make sure that when we get the fees, you know, we need to publicize whatever we're doing, because, you know, we got at least two gentlemen here didn't know we had changed the dollar fee, so I guess we didn't do a good job of putting the word out, so we need to make sure that that happens.
Yeah. Okay. You've heard the question. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, that's unanimous vote, okay? Okay, well, let's move on here. All right, VDOT?
Good evening.
Evening.
David Beal, VDOT resident engineer. Hopefully you have a copy of my April report. The weather has been favorable the last 4 to 6 weeks, and we've gotten a lot of work done. We completed pipe cleaning on several routes, Clark Point Road, Fleets Bay Road, Lively Oaks, River Road, and at the Mollis Post Office. Cleaned ditches on Alfonso and Fleets Bay. We repaired a pipe on Whitechapel. We made a drainage improvement on Blueberry Point Road, and shoulder repairs on River Road, Whitechapel Road, and Mary Ball Road. We replaced pipes on Old Salem Road and Maratico Road, and patched potholes on Irvington Road. We've also completed asphalt patching on Nutsville Road, Maratico Road, and on the Mary Point side of the ferry. We picked up all the litter on the primary routes, and we responded to work orders countywide. We did complete a cross pipe on Alfonso Road today. And we've also completed the asphalt patches on Laura Road and Old Salem at the pipe replacement. We do have another patch on Devil's Bottom to complete, which will be done soon, and we'll continue to respond to work orders countywide. The month of May, we'll begin picking up litter on secondary routes prior to our first mow. So I know you all will be happy with that. On the pavement schedule, the Cape Seal routes, remember Cape Seal is a two-step process. We come in with the surface treatment first, and then after a couple weeks, after that sets up, we come back with the slurry seal. All the surface treatment part of the Cape Seal routes will be completed this week, and by mid-May, all 5 of those routes will be finished with the Cape Seal treatment. The surface treatment schedule, the contractor is finishing up in Richmond County now, and then he's moving to Westmoreland next. So later this summer, he'll be in Lancaster to start on those routes. The secondary 6-year plan, Oliver Lane is the only route that's currently on the plan, and it's scheduled for summer 23 construction. And as you'll see next month at our public hearing for the secondary 6-year plan, you recall last year we didn't have the hearing because of COVID. So we just took all the money that you got last year and put it in a countywide fund. So just a placeholder until you assign prioritized routes this year. Oliver Lane is the only road that's on your plan right now. And it looks like we're going to be able to advance that schedule to at least next summer, if not sooner. I had Mr. Gill pass out a list of your unpaved routes that we'll need to prioritize next month at the public hearing. We want to concentrate first on the roads that have over 50 vehicles per day. And since Oliver Road is already on the plan, that leaves you with one to choose from, which is Chestnut Grove Road. We have enough money in the plan for the next 6 years to do about 3/10 of a mile. Chestnut Grove is 1/10. So you know, roughly 2/10 left. And if there's a portion of some of these longer routes that you would like to do, as long as we're connecting hard surface to hard surface and we don't have gravel, hard surface gravel, we can break those roads up into phases if there's a section of a longer route that you'd like to put on the plan now. And in fact, if you have, I'll go ahead and and prepare a temporary project contingent on your approval at the public hearing for Chestnut Grove. But if there are other routes that you'd like to discuss tonight or that you'd like me to prepare on the plan for the
Well,
public hearing.
I have one. I think, Mr. Gill, that's Davis Mill Road, correct? That's the name of it. Davis Mill Road, we had a response from a citizen and that wanted, it's already partially paved, but he wanted that to be added at least past his home. And Mr. Gill and I rode down, we took a look at it, and I'm thinking that's something that we would like to see done. Well, I know that's something I'd like to see done. Any additional comments, Mr. Gill?
No, I actually told Mr. Beal before the meeting exactly
okay.
that, and it's about 2/10.
About 2
Or right at 2/10, and it would be, it's pavement on one end, but it's, it's probably 0.8 of a mile out to 201. So all we're talking about is extending that existing pavement 0.2 of a mile.
Yeah. Okay. And presently, after that, there's no other homes in that area, on that road.
I mean, is it just beyond the last home on that section of the road, about 2/10?
Yes.
But if you have an address or something, if you
Yeah.
want to shoot
Yeah,
me an email.
I can shoot it to you.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll prepare those two for the public hearing.
Okay.
If you all have any other questions for me, that's all I have.
Mr. Chairman, I've asked Mr. Beal to stay, if you would, because I'm going to ask him some things after our public hearing number 3.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, you have some pictures before you that Mr. Barnes and myself visited the Mary Pont Ferry yesterday. And it's very disturbing when you drive up to the ferry to see a no trespassing sign on the side of the highway. Y'all did a good job of paving down there. The asphalt is real thick. It's nice. But when you break around the corner, there's a sign right on the edge of the road, no trespassing.
Yeah,
And you get down there a little further before you would drive up on to the ferry, there's 2 signs there that says private beach, no trespassing. So my question is, when did all of this become private?
There's a prescriptive easement that runs along the road that's 30 feet wide.
Don,
That part
does
is
he need to see
public.
this?
Yeah,
Do you need-
The land on either side of that's private. So the no trespassing sign should not be on the,
no trespassing sign is right on, well, you can see it's right on the edge of the pavement. Then when you get down there to the ferry, there's 2 signs down there that says private beach. So I'd like to know, when did that become a private beach? And how did it become a private beach?
I've had multiple conversations with a landowner down there, and my understanding was he was posting the land that he owned, not the right-of-way. The right-of-way is 30 feet wide, 15 foot along the center line of the road. So I'll go down there and check the location of the signs to make sure that the public land isn't posted.
You can see where the sign is. I doubt if it's 15 feet there.
I'll check it.
And I would request, if you check and they find that they're in the right-of-way, that those signs be removed immediately.
We'll do it the same day if they're in the right-of-way.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
I appreciate all the work that you're doing up there in District 1, the north end of the county here, on all the different roads, the patching, the litter cleanup, the ditch cleaning you have done. But again, I can only say that that's just only a tiny portion of what is needed up there. Even after all this dry spell we've had here relatively, and everything else is dried up, we still have water in those ditches. DEQ is going to come after you and call them wetlands here before very long. It needs to be taken care of. I don't know what you can do about it, if we can help you, if we can talk to those further up the line to get that equipment more often for you. The little bit that was done there at Mall was really, like I say, was at best the tip of the iceberg. So,
I mean, you joke about you joke about that, but that is an obstacle. When the
I'm
ditches,
sorry?
when the ditches are full of water, we can't clean them until they drain, or else we have to pump them before we can drain them. We're not allowed to work in the wet. We have to work in the dry. So that is an obstacle for us.
Okay, well, the
but-
fact still remains, though, that you have a major corridor, 354, that has a ditch network with it, that is basically not working. Because the culverts are full, and the ditches themselves have not been cleaned. And it is a problem, it's going to become a bigger problem.
We'll continue to work on it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Well, no, no, sir. I'm sorry, no. All right, let's move on to presentations into Health Incorporation.
Well, good evening.
Evening.
I come from the church community where when I say something, somebody says, amen, amen. And so, good evening. And
Amen.
look at that, somebody said amen. I am Gernard Reed of Montrose, and I wish to introduce you to the Northern Neck Health Incorporated. I call it Into Health. It's a nonprofit dedicated to improving health and access to quality health care across the Northern Neck. Into Health is actually about 4 years old and has participated in research and patient engagement projects across the Northern Neck for 4 years. Into Health is announcing to you the prosecution of a PCORI patient engagement project for the purpose of educating citizens and leaders of the Northern Neck, that would be those that I'm standing in front of, about health literacy. PCORI is an independent, nonprofit, non-governmental organization located in Washington, D.C., and they administer over $1.6 billion in such grants. And so we have partnered with them for this particular project to promote patient-centered outcomes in research and education, as they do throughout the United States. Today, I am announcing to this board the Lancaster-Northumberland meeting that we've planned and scheduled of policymakers and patients on Tuesday, June 8th, 2021, at the First Baptist Church, Heathsville. It's an all-day meeting from 9 until 3 p.m., and I'm inviting you. We've sent some time back some literature, some very basic literature. Tonight I have brochures. We also sent brochures ahead, kind of telling you what it is that we're trying to do. We also have another set of meetings that follow this one that is for a different group, but we want you all to come and to see the work and the research. And we want to share the results of some of the surveys that we've done, some of the literature that we've gathered, and some of the reports from rural areas across the country about multiple chronic conditions and health literacy. We want the citizens of this Northern Neck to know that there are things that can be done that are not being done. It's interesting to hear that earlier, before I got up to speak, someone used the word telehealth. It's something we probably wouldn't have heard 5 years ago, but has certainly been ramped up during the COVID-19 crisis. But there are a number of things that can be done in this area that would promote health care for all the citizens of this area. So we want to expose that and share it. We do have 4 speakers for the occasion. First is Dr. Robert Palmer, who is in the geriatric sciences at Eastern Virginia Medical School, and Eastern Virginia is one of our partners. Another partner is VCU School of Pharmacy, Dr. Elvin Price, and then Dr. Kenesha Moore Bryant, who's with the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences. She's been with us about 2 or 3 years. And so those are our 3 partners. Locally, Dr. Laverne Morrow-Carter of RECE is also one of the speakers and will shed light on what we've done as far as research here. I thank you for entertaining me on this evening. You will get a formal invite, and we would love for at least one, but I would like maybe all 6 to come and join us at least for part of the day to see what we're doing. This is at no cost to anyone. It's simply a group that has gotten together, organized as a board, earned a grant, and now we're prosecuting the grant. So I certainly thank you for your time. Is there any questions?
No questions? Thank you, Reverend Reed.
The preacher said it so well that there were no questions. Let the church say amen.
All right. Yes, sir. Let's see. Broadband Authority.
Evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I'm not going to ask for an amen. Just some updates on the grants. Okay. All right, thanks. Re-grants. As you know, we have partnered with Middlesex, Caroline, and Matthews County for the VATI grant that we won. And we're at the point now where they asked for us to sign, DHCD, the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, has sent us out the next steps. And the first thing was to submit a memorandum of agreement, which I signed on yesterday. So that has gone forth. Where we are now, the ball's in the court of DHCD, and we have some other things that have to be figured out, but everything went in as of today, and they'll let us know when they're ready to get into the next phase of the contract. This is going to be a few weeks doing this contract phase, so we're sort of in a holding pattern for that. RUS, as you know, we submitted our RUS application on Valentine's Day 2020, and due to RDOF, we had to resubmit back in January, and as you're aware, we just heard that, no, we didn't get it. So after over a year after we submitted it, they finally got back to us. I won't go any further than what I said when I read that. We're currently working on a presentation for the Jesse Ball DuPont Foundation. They are looking at the entire Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck to provide money for broadband. So we've established a presentation for 3 projects that we'd like to put before them. So we're going to tighten them up a bit and then go back to Mark Walker, who's their point man. He's going to take a look at it and help us do any more tidying up that might be needed, and then it will be presented to the full foundation and see what we can get for broadband expansion. And being that it's a nonprofit, we get to keep it. We don't have to have partners or anything. It's up to us what we put forth. Everybody wants to hear about All Points and Dominion. March, Jimmy Carr, the CEO for All Points, reached out to us to talk about us joining the other counties of King George, Richmond, Westmoreland, and Northumberland in their Dominion pilot program. He made a presentation on 7 April, which a couple of you attended, you were aware of it, and a lot of the citizens know about it. They attended that meeting. It was a good presentation. First step, they gave us a memorandum of understanding for us to review. We negotiated some changes. Some they didn't want, some they did accept. And I'm glad to say that they sent it out. They accepted our other changes. They sent it to me on Monday, and Monday afternoon I signed it. And yesterday I received a copy signed by Dominion, All Points, and of course us, which I know Don, I've given it to Don. I assume you've all seen a copy of that MOU. So at this point, we're waiting for Jimmy Carr to get back to us to start the next meeting, which is when we get into more proprietary stuff, what information we have that they need to know, the financial part, the obligations, et cetera. So once he contacts us for that, we'll go and do another MOU, and we'll continue working until this is done. They've notified me that they'd like to have a press release on this. One thing we negotiated, they were going to put it out. They won't put it out until it's coordinated with us. We're obligated to speak for the county, and we don't want any press releases, and the same thing with VATI, to go out unless we have input into it. So as soon as they send us that draft, we'll massage, add something, delete, whatever, and get that out to the population. And I think I have one more thing. Oh, I had an article in the paper, Nicholas Pasquaretti. He is our new executive director, highly skilled, highly qualified. We're lucky to get him. As you know, he was the former executive director in the Eastern Shore, Virginia Broadband Authority, so has a lot of experience. He's already shown us his value, because he and I are working the VATI application, and the contract, I should say, and it's great working with him. He's added benefits, definitely. And the last thing I have is that we accepted your turning of the contract for the CARES project over to the authority, and so we're working with BTS. And again, Nicholas is involved in that to see if that program goes forth. Questions?
Do we have a time frame on the VATI, the finalization of the VDOT grant or when those customers will be turned on?
Nope. Well, put it this way, it's an 18-month project.
So they have up to 18 months to finish?
18 months to finish it. The only thing that would delay it, besides an act of God, is if a third party couldn't get availability of equipment, chips, whatever, that's outside of ABB's control. Otherwise, 18 months. And right now, we're in that few weeks until DHCD. We're in a 90-day phase. They have to come back to us for some information and other contractual thing, roles for each of the county in this program management. So we're sort of waiting for that, and they're going to come to our next meeting of the management team to discuss those roles.
Hopefully the semiconductor shortage doesn't affect any of the timeframes on this.
Not at this point. ABB had, I wouldn't say any of the semiconductors, but they had already gone out and gotten some of the equipment that they needed. And they've already started putting out contracts for 2 contractors. I don't know who they are to start the project. So they've gotten ahead of a few things. But that's where they are now. And they're pretty much, can't do too much past that until DHCD comes back to us.
Thank you.
Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you. I'm going to church again.
All right. Now we go into the public hearing. Mr. Cornwell, I would like to, and I want to know if this is legal, I'd like for us to hear the presentation for Article 3 and Article 4 at the same time, and then have the public hearing on both of them at the same time, but vote on them individually. Is that correct? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, Mr. Bryan?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This issue is a public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amendment for the A1 and A2 zoning district. This involves the addition of one section line, and I'll just read from the Article 3 zoning ordinance. The language will be duplicated in the A2 zoning ordinance. 3136, utility scale solar facility, comma, pursuant to Article 28 of this ordinance and 15.2-2288.8 Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, comma, with a special exception. This language enables the utility scale solar ordinance that you all have enacted to be able to be used and utilized. What would happen with this is that this use with a special exception would then be added to these 2 zoning articles, allowing lands in those two districts to be considered for utility scale solar facilities. This item was heard by the Planning Commission and was sent to the board, as you see in your packet, with a recommendation of approval. This item has been advertised for both meetings, and I have no written opposition for you tonight on this current article. However, as you saw in the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting, there was opposition at the Planning Commission meeting, and I would anticipate that tonight as well. If you all have questions for me, I'll try to answer them.
Any questions, gentlemen? Mr. Bryan? Okay, at this time, I'm opening a public hearing to hear from the public on Article 3 and Article 4. What Mr. Bryan stated will be added to that. All right. Yes, sir. And you have 5 minutes, and I will raise the 1-minute sign.
Only if everybody has only 5 minutes.
That's always the case, always the case.
You
I'm
changed
fair,
it.
I'm fair.
You changed it
Oh,
one time
geez.
for somebody else, and you went 10 minutes. Now,
I don't understand that one, and I won't accept
Yes.
that. Nope.
It's true.
No, I will not accept that. So go ahead, sir. Your time has started.
Charlie Costello, and I was with the Planning Commission, and you've seen the minutes. My concern is to do with battery energy storage systems, which would be a solar facility being here. In M1, we talk about power generation. We don't talk about storage facility in that sense. So that would not be allowed in an M1 situation. My thing was, and I mentioned it in the Planning Commission, that we should have this saying utility scale solar energy generation facilities, the same as we have for M1.
Now, the State Corporation Commission requires any battery energy storage system of 1 megawatt or greater come before the State Corporation Commission. That is a big deal. That is where things are going. And I don't think we should be caught having people come in and say, well, your thing only says solar facilities. We ought to have solar energy generation facilities. That was my concern before. It's my concern now. It'll be my concern as we go forward. Those are big deals, and they are more impervious than other things, and it is coming down the track. We're letting ourselves open for things we may not really be thinking about now. That was my thing on this. I would like to say just one other thing. I forgot to mention, Pete Ranson is leaving us, and he's a great asset to this county and all, and we're
Mr.
going to miss
Costello,
him.
comment on what we're talking about, the public
I
hearing,
know.
please. All right,
I didn't have a
please, sir.
chance before.
All right.
Thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it very much, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you, sir. Let me say this. I do my best to respect anybody and everybody, and I like respect as well. Whether you like me or not, please respect me. All right, go ahead, sir.
Scott Foster here on behalf of Open Road Renewables. We support this ordinance amendment as written.
Can I
Brian's,
ask you to speak up, please?
we support this ordinance amendment as written. Brian's done a good job in this process. This section is in keeping with what other jurisdictions are doing and matches the industry standards, so we'd encourage you to adopt it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone else like to speak during this public hearing on Article 3 and 4, the amendment? If not, then I'll declare this public hearing now closed on Article 3 and Article 4.
Mr. Chairman?
Excuse me. Hold on a minute. What? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Thank you.
Is anyone online?
All right. Anybody online? Okay, good. All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the proposed Article 3 amendment be accepted as written.
Okay, y'all all heard the motion?
I've heard it, but I'd like to
Comment on
make
it?
a comment
Okay,
on
all
it.
right. Okay.
I don't support this anymore for any differently than I supported the approval of the solar panel ordinance. Mr. Costello is right on. The order in which we're going about this thing is wrong. The comprehensive plan should be updated to talk about growth areas, to talk about specific areas where it is. Otherwise, the comprehensive plan basically has no meaning. Same thing with the zoning ordinances. When you look at the statement of intent in here for the A1, and it says the lowest density of development in the county. I know that those arguing for it say, well, wait a minute, there's no people working in there. You don't have any folks doing this or that and everything. It's just a bunch of solar panels. That's development. That's still development. So to me, all of a sudden now the zoning ordinances don't mean too much. And finally, as I've tried to point out, I have serious concerns, having spent a fair amount of time having to become qualified in erosion and sediment control issues. The downstream effect of the runoff from these things, I don't think we've talked about it. You can try and figure it out. I know what's going to happen now. We're going to get these applications coming in right behind, and we'll not have planned it. It will simply be these companies having worked out the best deal they can with the landowners without regard to whether or not it makes sense overall for the development of the county. They'll be coming right in. And they'll probably have site plans. I know Mr. Barnes will do a good job going over it. But I can tell you, you cannot accurately predict, even doing the math and all those other calculations. The law of unintended consequences applies to stormwater runoff, and water will go one place or another. So, you know, that's it for me, but I feel very strongly about this.
Yes, sir.
I brought up, when this was first discussed, the article that was written about types of soil and whether the soil would support crops or not. And to me, the only place that should be considered in an agricultural A1, A2, A3, I don't give a hoot, in an agricultural area, the only place that should be considered for solar is where the soil will not support crops. And I think it ought to be written in here, if it's possible, to do that specific thing, and then have the special exception. It has to meet these criteria. And yet, that's not in here, and it ought to be, because we're going to be allowing our crop-bearing areas to be prostituted with solar. And none of us are going to get kissed.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I would just say I support this. I think every special exception would have to go through the same comprehensive plan review and be found in compliance with it. And personal property right, it's not this board telling what farmer to farm or what not to farm or what soils they have. It's a personal property right for that owner to decide whether they want to farm it with carrots, corn, or put solar panels there. So I think if we can accommodate the personal property rights and find these in compliance with the comprehensive plan through the review process, then it should be deemed acceptable. And that's how I will vote tonight.
If there's no further comments, then
Motion on the floor.
we'll proceed with the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right. All against the motion, say nay.
Nay.
All right, so that's 3-2 for the motion. Motion carries. All right, so let's go to public hearing number 3.
No, we have to, I would.
Oh, that's right, number
I would
2.
move that we approve the written for article number 4 as well.
All right, you've heard the motion, article number 4. All in favor of the motion for article number 4, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, nay?
Nay.
All right, article number 4 approved, 3-2. All right, now, we're going to, application for special exception. That's, is that Mr. Brian? Yeah, Mr. Brian Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This issue is a special exception request to the Board of Supervisors on property owned by Hadrian Estates LLC and leased by Fest Productions, trading as Willoughby's Cafe. This property is known as tax map number 34-209. It's zoned R1 residential general and consists of .810 acres. It's located off Maryball Road on Old Ferry Road in District 5. This request is for the placement of a food truck to be not in a transient state, but more of a semi-permanent state on the site of an existing restaurant. This property is unique, not just because of its position next to the Norris Bridge, but also because it's zoned R1, despite having been used as a restaurant since long before the zoning ordinance was enacted. We have run across that before. That makes it a prior non-conforming use. As you see in the memo, I documented a few examples from the special exception language in our zoning ordinance that kind of guides the granting or denial of special exceptions. And basically, this issue comes down to the expansion of a prior non-conforming use requiring a special exception process because it has been used as a restaurant for a long time, but this county staff felt that this use kind of expanded on that prior non-conforming use and that this process might be necessary in order to have a proper review.
Yeah, you're fading in and out.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm trying to stay in a same distance. I'm not sure. Glenn, if you can check my microphone, I'm not sure if that's being recorded or not. The light's still on, so.
When it's
battery's
working,
still
it's working, it's just, it just
Okay.
cut you off.
You say I'm the only one he can hear, okay. Well, I speak kind of loud, so I don't know. I'll try to speak up. This issue was advertised and the adjacent property owners notified. You did get a response from the adjacent property owners. I've tried to provide you with some of that correspondence, and I gave you some more of that correspondence tonight that did not make your initial memo, and I apologize for that, but that came in after the time those needed to go out the door to you guys. As you all are aware, special exceptions can be conditioned by the board. A few conditions are offered in one of the correspondence items you have. Some of those conditions might be good and worthy of consideration. The applicant is here tonight, and he's available to answer any questions you may have. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions you have of me, of the process, or any things that...
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Barnes, to your knowledge, is anyone here from Hadrian Estates LLC?
No, sir. He did submit a letter of support and acknowledgement that he consents to the use of the property in this manner.
That's in the file?
Yep.
Good. I saw that you gave him notice also as a, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. Any questions before we open up for the public hearing? Comments? Okay, the public hearing is now open. Any comments?
Will, you want to talk?
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity for this application presented.
You can take the mic, mask down if you like.
Thank you. I've been operating a restaurant for my food service business for 33 years. I've been in this location for 11. The past year has been a tremendous challenge for all the restaurants in my industry, and it's been a challenge for us as well. Part of the plan that to be able to serve out of a food trailer on our beach is to be able to give people the opportunity to dine in a more open atmosphere where they might feel more comfortable. And it will give us a chance to be able to serve more meals than we currently are. We're serving 11 before all of this has come about. At this point, we're serving 6, and I'm maxing out the staff I have. Lots of creative ways of trying to get people to come in and fill out applications so that we can get another 6 people to run and be able to do 11 shifts hasn't worked out well. So part of this design also has a lower number of employees, and it will help us be able to fill out the rest of our schedule. And hopefully access to this beach will be good for the community, and that, you know, we can provide a place that is somewhat public for people to be able to be outside and enjoy the Rappahannock River. I'll take any questions at all. We will, one thing I think is important for me to note is that we will not be running it concurrently with the restaurant being open inside. We don't have enough parking, don't have enough facilities for that. This will be simply to fill in the times that we are not able to engage with our restaurant because of a lack of employment interest.
Now, when you say access to the beach, what do you mean? Because I can hear people asking, what do you mean by that? Access to the beach, what do you mean by that?
That they'll be able to dine on the beach, that they'll be able to bring a towel, bring their own chair, come down. They would need to be customers to be able to use the beach, but they would have access to it.
So I could come down there, I could set up my lawn chair and camp out all day and have drinks and food and what have you. That would be acceptable?
That's correct.
Okay.
Until we close.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did I understand that the restaurant won't be serving at the same time that this is?
That's
So
correct.
Generally speaking, your parking lot is going to be almost empty except for staff or whatever.
If the restaurant is, well, people will be dining on the beach, so it won't be just coming by and picking up takeout.
No, I know. My concern, quite frankly, I just cut to it, and you and I have spoken on the phone about this.
Right.
My concern is if people, and I think people will want to go to the beach. I think this will be a very welcome thing for this entire community. But if your parking lot is full, they're going to park on that road. And I read what you said with the homeowners association, that you would have parking on one side of the road, you believe that would be appropriate, and that you would put no parking signs on the other side of the road. My concern is that people are going to do what people are going to do, and they're likely to disregard any no parking sign that's there unless they know there's enforcement on that. So I've asked Mr. Beal to stay over, because I want to ask him about how much of that, to look into how much of that road is a state road, and if it is a state road, if they would put the no parking signs on that side, if that would then allow us to have our county sheriff's department write tickets if someone were to ignore those signs, because we need a deterrent if people are going to be people and do what they want to do. And my concern is because if both sides of that road had vehicles parked, it's hard enough now to pass a car on the pavement. But if you pulled over onto the grass on the side of one side, if you did it on both sides, if that was possible, I don't believe a fire truck could get down there, and I'm not sure about an ambulance.
I agree with you.
That would be a really bad situation if something should happen and the emergency vehicle couldn't get there. So I just think we ought to look at that. I like the whole idea. I like what you said with the homeowners association, but I think maybe the county needs to take some extra steps that safety is observed beyond your putting up signs.
I like this, and I'd be happy to be on the enforcement side of reporting any encroachment.
That's a question I have. Like, if you live in a place and you're in an apartment complex, say they contract with like a tow truck agency who like patrols the area, and if there's somebody illegally parked, they tow them. Why couldn't something like that arrangement be worked out for that scenario?
Be fine with me.
It would depend on whether the road is a public road. If the road's a public road, they're not going to be able to do that. You can only enforce, the homeowner association could only enforce their parking regulations on their property.
But could the state put no parking
That
signs?
I can't answer that. We'll ask the state man.
Mr. Beal.
Before Mr. Beal answer, sir, what's his name?
William.
William, let me ask you this question. What's the capacity of your parking lot now?
Our capacity is 30 cars.
30 cars? Okay.
Yes, 30 vehicles.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
All right.
Just a couple comments. I'll work to find out what the limits of the public and private road is, or are. As far as no parking signs, VDOT wouldn't put up no parking signs in support of a business, or we don't want to be in the middle of the HOA and the business owner. Which side are people going to park on? Which side are they not going to park on? But we would allow the county to get a permit to install no parking signs. And you could have, as I would suggest, you have the business owner, as a condition of approval, reimburse the county for the installation of no parking signs as necessary if needed, or however you would want to frame it. We would allow the no parking signs to be installed under permit, but VDOT would not install them or maintain them.
And Mr. Cornwell, what steps would be necessary for us to be able to have law enforcement called and come and write a ticket, if not towing?
Well, I'm assuming that if we get a permit from VDOT to be able to post the no parking signs, that it then would be enforceable by us because of our permit.
Okay, and then depending on how much of that road is a state road and how much is private, then this would only apply for the state road part. And again, it has to be measured, I guess, to see if that would be a problem if it happened on the private part. What kind of thing would happen if they double parked on the private?
Well, it'd be up to the property owner to enforce it or not enforce it. It's like if you come and park in my front yard, I get to call the sheriff and have you removed. So it'd be about the same thing.
Okay.
William, from my understanding, along that road, there's not much way you can really park along the side of the road there. Isn't it like a deep ditch, pretty much?
There is, to some extent, there's some erosion in the ditch. There's several springs in that area, there's a spring that has eroded part of the ditch, and actually some of the asphalt's not in track.
And it's my understanding that your food truck business is not going to be open when your restaurant's open.
Exactly.
And your restaurant is going to be open, but your food, but the food truck, when your restaurant's open, the food truck will be closed. So right now, when your restaurant's open, you have parking for 30.
We do.
And when the food truck is working, the restaurant will not, so you'll still have parking for 30.
That's correct.
And when the restaurant is open, have you had a problem with people parking on both sides with congestion?
Say that again, please, I'm sorry.
When you, in the past, before COVID, when your restaurant was open, because I know you do good business down there, have you had that problem with the parking being on both sides of the road?
Not on parking on both sides. We've had them park on one side and park up the road, even as far as, I'm sure we've had over a dozen cars park on the right-hand side going out.
Okay.
Yeah, these signs, something I could post, I would need to get your permission to be able to post them up.
We would issue the permit to the county, and then the county or their agent could post the signs.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go through that.
Would we
Okay.
need to officially measure so he knows where the state road stops? Does VDOT need
I can
to-
give that information to you.
That would be great.
Okay. All right. Okay, it's public hearing. All right.
Yeah, and with regard to what Mr. Bellows said about that ditch, if there's, I don't know if there's any way we work together to put a French drain into that so that the spring can flow and we don't continue to have that erosion, and cars that might be tempted to park along there wouldn't fall into the ditch.
Or they would.
Mr. Barnhart, apparently, in the material we received tonight, you worked out an understanding with the property owners that you would agree to this special exception only flowing to you and not staying with the land. You agreed to that?
I agree to that.
Well, Mr. Cornwell, is that something that a board can do as a condition of granting the special exception? Because normally, these things go with the land.
I would think the board would have to make a finding that, one, he proffered it, and second, that because of the nature of his skill and ability in operating that establishment, that it would be granted only to him. Okay? Because, as you say, they normally run with the land, and the conditions normally relate to the use of the property, not the owner of the property.
I would agree to disengaging this if there's a way of reversing this, if the property were to ever become anything else other than under my care.
So what you're saying is that you presently lease the property.
That's correct.
So if your lease is terminated, you'd want this board to find that this special exception is being granted to you because of the nature of your skill and ability to operate this establishment. And should your lease terminate, that the special exception will also terminate.
That would meet the homeowners association next door to me's, one of the things that was their requirement.
And looking at it also, if you were to purchase this property and continue to use, the special exception would continue.
I will just have to say that I was struck by the letter from the president of the homeowners association that they were willing to do this for you because of who you are and of the reputation that you have that they honor. And I think that goes exactly to Mr. Cornwell's point.
I think they got a taste of the former representative that went on there, and we're happy to have what's been going on there the last 11 years.
Okay.
But do we need to look at the homeowners association letter as being the conditions for the special exception?
Well, I think you certainly are going to have to adopt conditions to the special exception, and I think you can use the language in the homeowners association as part of your board action.
All right. Let's continue with the public hearing, and then we.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
all right. That's your statement. Okay, good. All right. Anything else? Okay, good. All right.
What do I do now?
Thank you. You just wait for a while. Okay. All right. Any other comments on this matter from the public? Okay, if not, is there anybody outside? Anybody online? Okay, I don't see anybody online. All right, so I declare this public hearing closed. Now, gentlemen, comments?
I apologize
You're fine.
for jumping the gun.
You're fine.
No, I'm not. I apologize. I impeded into the public session.
I think this is a good idea by Mr. Barnhart to have that food trailer there, open the beach access up to people that's dining there. I think it's an enhancement to what we're trying to do in the county. So I'm definitely in favor of it with the conditions.
Okay.
Full support.
Yeah, full support, I am too.
I am too.
Okay. All right, now, how do we word this motion?
That's why we got the experts sitting here.
Okay.
I assume the board is asking for a motion to approve the special exception, conditioned on, one, that the porta-john to be associated with the food trailer be placed on Route 3 end of Willoughby's parking lot instead of near the food trailer. Second, that the special exception permit be issued directly to Mr. Barnhart and not to run with the land based upon the
Level of skill.
skill and knowledge that Mr. Barnhart has and his reputation in the community as set forth by the board members as part of this record. Are there any other conditions, Mr. Barnes, that you're recommending?
No, sir. I believe those two that are identified in that HOA letter are the two that have been discussed that Mr. Barnhart agreed to, and I think he reiterated that just a moment ago.
And I would also put a condition on there that the facility be constructed in accordance with the photograph and plans and specifications as submitted as part of the application, with the fencing and pilings and so forth, and in the location.
But do we need to mention anything about safety, about an emergency vehicle down the road, or just let that take care of itself?
I think that you probably should say that parking be prohibited from both sides of the road and that the county is authorized to obtain a permit from the VDOT to prohibit parking on one side of the road. And the condition would be that Mr. Barnhart would enforce those parking restrictions once that permit was granted by VDOT and the signs were put up. He would advise the county of violations of the ordinance so the county officials can enforce it.
Is it that the county's going to install those signs, or that Mr. Barnhart would install those signs?
I think the county has to install them, and Mr. Barnhart should pay for them. I think he's agreed to pay for them.
Okay.
All right.
With that, I'll make that motion.
Okay. All right. You've heard the motion. Any further comments or questions? All in favor of the motion, said aye. Aye. All right. That's a unanimous vote. Okay, so this motion passed. Okay, public hearing number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Beal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When did the margaritas start flowing?
Okay. Public hearing number 4. Okay, Mr. Bryan, Mr. Barnes?
No, this is me.
Oh, Mr. Gill? All right.
Mr. Chairman, David Alga, who owns 3 parcels next door to the county courthouse parking lot, that whole parcel, sent a letter to you all a couple of months ago requesting the possibility of having a 50 by 200 foot area, which is 0.23 acres, asking if it could be conveyed to him so that he could open up the old driveway that served that property and goes directly to Courthouse Road. Currently, he has an easement across the county courthouse parking lot area and accesses his property via that way. I brought this up to you last month as a consideration item to ask you for direction, how you wanted to proceed. You told me to go ahead and schedule the public hearing. I do not see Mr. Alga in the audience tonight. I don't know if he's online. Glenn, maybe you can let me know. Okay, I had assumed he was going to be here, but apparently not. Anyway, it's been discussed that perhaps if he relinquishes the easement across county property, perhaps that's enough for the county to convey the property to him that he's requesting. I think that he should incur all expenses associated with the conveyance, survey work, whatever that's involved, as well as attorney's fees, deed recordation. If you want to, he has not offered any dollar figure, but if you use the assessed value of the county property there and take the .23 acres worth of that property, it comes out to about $890. If you assign a higher value to it because it has road frontage, $5,000 an acre for road frontage is not unreasonable. If you do the math then, it comes out to $1,150 for that .23 acres. So I'm not sure how the board wants to proceed on this, and since Mr. Alga is not here, I don't know what he's willing to offer, but I do know, and Mr. Palin has talked to him since it's in his district previously, and that I know one of the options was that if he would relinquish the easement and pay for all costs associated with it, that perhaps that was enough. So we've scheduled a public hearing. I would think that we should continue with it, and then maybe Mr. Cornwell can let me know if he thinks we should postpone a decision, or if you all are willing to make a decision tonight.
Well, it could be that, depending on what you're saying here, could be that we could just approve it and give you the option to negotiate it within certain parameters.
Well, I think you should conduct a public hearing. I think that we're going to need to see the survey of the property that the county is going to convey, as well as the deed and documents. So if you have the public hearing and you give indication that you will approve it, then we can have Mr. Alger prepare those documents and brought back to the board for approval at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Okay, that's good instruction there. All right. All right. All right. Now open up the public hearing, the meeting to a public hearing for this matter here. Okay, the meeting's now open for public hearing. All right. Any comments? All right. Any online? Anybody online? All right. So public hearing is closed. All right. So gentlemen, this is what I would propose is that we, as Mr. Cornwell said, we just go ahead and, if we're willing to approve this matter, to let him go ahead and prepare the documentations and stuff and bring it back to us to approve it. All right. So, all right. So all those in favor of that, say aye. Aye. All right. Motions have it. Unanimous. Okay. All right. So you understand, Mr. Gill?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
All right, Mr. Chairman, you ready for public hearing number 5?
Number 5, yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Chairman, the purpose of this public hearing tonight, it's required by the Code of Virginia for you all to receive public comments on your proposed FY22 county operating budget. You've arrived at this process through 5 meetings, prior budget work sessions that you all have conducted. As I stated, the Code of Virginia 15.2-2506 requires that you have to wait at least 7 days after this public hearing before you can adopt the budget.
I know, but we never did 4.
No, we did 4. 4 was the conveyance.
We just finished 4.
But the conveyance, I thought, was for Jimmy and Sue.
No, conveyance was for David Alga.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on public hearing number 5 now.
I hear.
Yeah, so you have to wait at least 7 days before you adopt your budget. You all have previously chosen to take public comment tonight and then adopt the budget with or without modification at your regular May 27th meeting. So that is the plan. Glenn, if you can switch to PC2, there we go. I'll just run through briefly this synopsis of the county budget. The first thing I want to point out is right here. In FY21, we begin with a higher fund reserve balance than what we had thought based on the FY20 audit. In the FY20 audit began with a $1.9 million fund reserve, and it ended with a $4.8 million fund reserve. So we increased the fund reserve during FY20. So we started FY21 better than what we thought. So looking at FY22, the projections, you'll see under revenues, general property taxes, it's a $1.295 million increase. This is based on your proposed $3.75 personal property tax, as well as $65,000 in estimated revenue from your cigarette tax, which you all have requested that we put into effect by July 1. So this additional revenue is based on those two things. You can see additional revenues from...
Quick question. There's been a lot of is there any capture of increased real property due to all the building and stuff that's taking place this year, or is that not captured yet?
That's not captured yet. I did look at the building permit fees for FY21 to date. It's $165,000. We had only budgeted, I believe, $110,000. So our building permit revenue fees are way up.
But that subsequently would carry over to the general real property, right, eventually, because
correct,
some of those will be caught by the
They'll be
commissioner revenue when they're...
Correct. The improvements will be captured by the commissioner revenue and assessed, and then that'll show up on the tax bill next year.
budget, probably? Okay.
Yep. So, so you can see that the projected revenues are up by over $2 million. Of course, a large portion of that is based on your proposed $3.75 personal property tax rate. When you come down to expenditures for FY22, you'll see that general government increases some. This is, the state has mandated a 5% increase for all state employees. You all have chosen to pass that 5% increase on to all county employees. The state is going to reimburse you for 44% of those employees, that 5% raise. So that's included in all of these numbers for the employees. The rest of this increase right here is for an additional position that you all have proposed in my department for an assistant county administrator / economic development director. So that's a large portion of that increase. The court's increase is the salaries and just some nominal expenses. Public safety is up. Public works is up. That's where the waste management and the refuge disposal comes in. Health and welfare is up by $300,000. This is somewhat misleading because $200,000 of this is in the Children's Services Act, which the county really has little control over how much those funds you have to spend. The other $100,000 is in social services, and that's somewhat misleading as well because social services gets revenue from local, state, and federal, and the largest portion of that expense is going to be offset by state and federal reimbursements. The local portion of the social services budget only increased by about $10,000. So as we move down, community development is up quite a bit. That mostly is due to the Broadband Authority's budget, that increase right there. The schools, as you know, requested, the budget you adopted was level funding locally. So that's reflected there. The debt service has increased by $420,849. That is due to the $13.145 million Virginia Public School Authority bond that you all approved last fall for the renovation of the middle school into an elementary school. That debt service is new. It's actually about $484,000. The interest part of that for FY22. Principal won't start on that until FY23. As I stated, it was about $484,000, but the debt increase is only $420,000 because you're refinancing of 3 prior notes last fall through the Virginia Resource Authority saved the county about $64,000 in debt service annually. So our total expenditures are up by about a little over $2 million. The projected fund balance at the end of the year, $6.6 million. Capital improvements are not not reflected in this expenditure summary here. You all had quite a lengthy discussion on April the 12th about capital improvements and made one adjustment to what the Planning Commission had recommended. So this is the level that you all came up with after that meeting, and that's an increase of $672,000 over the prior year. So that's a very quick synopsis of the budget. As I stated, you all are required to hold a public hearing. You'll take public comment tonight, but take no action, and you'll adopt the budget at your regular May 27th meeting with or without modification.
Gentlemen, you heard an overview of the public, of the budget. Do you have any questions or
Chairman,
comments?
I asked Mr. Gill one question. When you discuss the revenues, you didn't mention anything about applying land use taxation to the forestal lands. That is reflected in here too, is it not?
No, it won't show up until FY23.
Pardon?
The land use taxation on forest land reduction in revenues will not show up until FY23. The reason is you have to amend your ordinance by June 30th of this year to have it take effect for next year. The revenues from taxes that will come in next year will come in the latter part of the year, which is FY23.
Thank you, I recall that now, but we will have that issue on the agenda in time to meet the deadline.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You will have amendments to the land use ordinance to include forest land. We're also going to bring a cigarette tax ordinance to you to get that adopted prior to July 1, and they should come to you in May.
Okay, thank you.
The cigarette tax ordinance is prepared and has been circulated to the other counties that are considering also raising their taxes and doing it on a regional basis. I thought we should all adopt the same ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments before I open up the public hearing? All right. The public hearing is now open on the fiscal year 22 county operating budget. Any comments? Yes, sir.
I think you want public hearing number 6.
All right. Yes, sir.
Just one question. The revenue sharing ordinance, if that's solar, is that being worked on too?
Yes, that'll come before July 1 as well, probably in May.
May? And it'll be open for public hearing.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. All ordinances have to be advertised twice.
As far as this,
Yeah.
only towards taxes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, sir. Come on up to the stand, sir, so we can hear you and be recorded.
Howard Kaiser, District 3.
Thanks.
Where do y'all get these estimates when I see them in the paper posted for your capital improvements? Where do they come from?
The
Space?
The estimates are prepared by engineers, firms who the respective departments have requested an estimate from.
I read where it was $500,000 to do the air conditioning in the courts building.
That came from an HVAC firm in Lancaster County.
Good God. Oh, you had a big discussion on slate roof. Has anybody considered standard seam roofing, raised rib roofing, which you see on a lot of government buildings?
There was a lengthy discussion at the April 12th work session, and it was talked about replacing this roof with asphalt shingles or metal, and the board chose to stick with the slate. So
The raised rib coming right off the truck delivered to the site carries a 50-year warranty. 50 years against color and everything. Maybe an alternative instead of
Well, I mean, it was brought up at that April 12th work session, and the board considered it and chose to stay with slate.
Thank you, sir. Any further comments? All right, you see any online? Anyone online? No, okay. All right, then no further comments are consider the public hearing closed. All right. All right. Next one, number 5, Mr. Gill. Number 6, Mr. Gill.
All right, Mr. Chairman, just as you have done historically, you've chosen to wait to adopt a tax levy ordinance until you adopt the budget. Lancaster sets its tax rates by ordinance. It has been advertised twice as required by law. You've also chosen to take public comment tonight, but not take any action, and take action at your regular May 27th meeting to adopt a tax levy. You can adopt a tax levy that is less than what has been advertised, but you cannot adopt a tax levy that is more than what has been advertised. The tax levy, this is your proposed ordinance that you will take public comment on tonight and adopt as is or with lower values at your May 27th meeting. All values are the same except for the personal property, which you all have directed me to advertise $3.75 per $100 of assessed value instead of the $2.04 per 100. Just for the audience's benefit, I will tell you that the personal property tax rate in Lancaster County has not been revised since 2007. It has been $2.04 since 2007. I will also tell you that neighboring counties of ours are already at $3.75 per 100. That's one side. The other side is that going from 204 to 375 is an 84% increase in personal property taxes. The Commissioner of Revenue told me the other day that she has downloaded her values from NADA, and the values are already 10% over last year's. They have increased over last year's values. So if the tax rate stayed the same at $2.04, your revenue will increase because the values have increased by 10%. So you all have, there's some decisions to be made. You need to take public comment tonight. And I'd be glad to answer any other questions from you. I'm sure there are some members in the public who want to speak.
Okay. Before I open up for the public hearing, anybody wants to make a comment, question? All right. Public hearing is now open. Okay, any comments?
Again, excuse me, my name is Jeff Brown. I'm the co-owner of Earth Resources. By virtue of our business, needless to say, but before I get started, thank you very much for taking my comments on the tires. I know that was kind of out of order, but appreciate that very much. And also appreciate you taking my comments on this particular issue. This was kind of brought to my attention by another person in the county, and I'm glad because it's of significance to me from a dollar standpoint. Because we own a lot of equipment, a lot of trucks, whatnot, in the course of doing our business, our personal property taxes, just so you know, last year was $29,000. And that's obviously every year for our business. Okay, that's nothing my personal things, that's just Earth Resources, equipment, trucks, and so forth. So, as you can imagine, when I was told it was going to be an 84% increase plus a 10% increase in the valuations, you might as well say 100%, just, I mean, round numbers. So I would basically be going from a tax bill of $29,000 to a tax bill of $58,000. Now, what I did not realize, and maybe it's not quite as bad as I thought, but it's still bad, is that you're only changing, or proposing to change, I'm sorry, the rate on just certain aspects of the personal property, so not all things. And because looking at my tax bill I have quite a few things that are taxed at the current rate of 2.04. I also have things, trailers and that sort of thing, that are taxed at a lower rate of 1.52. So am I, just for clarification point, the only thing that you're changing is the things that are currently 204 would go to 375? Correct. Is that right? Okay. So I did the math on that just to make sure, so I could give you real numbers. Excuse me. And at the 204 tax rate, if I just include the things that are currently at 204, that puts me at about almost $20,000. If I increase that by 0.84%, it puts me slightly over $36,000 for a difference of $16,600. You know, I had a discussion and asked Mr. Gill for some, excuse me, for some information on this topic yesterday, and he was very nice to provide it for me so that I could make this presentation, or at least ask some questions. And I think most people agree that everything goes up. You know, nothing stays the same. And unfortunately, I guess if other counties are charging $375, you all feel like maybe that's kind of the going rate, whatever, but that's a pretty big jump all at one time. Seems like the county surplus appears to be, from the presentation earlier, that that's going up on an annual basis. I know there's other expenses that go up as well, but it seems like that's a pretty significant increase. I'd like for you all to consider that, and it seems like maybe there was a shortfall of about $90,000 in the budget based on the information that I received. So something more like a 10 or 15% increase would seem more appropriate. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any of y'all have any questions for Mr. Brown before we go? All right, okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Howard Kaiser, District 3. The information I've been able to get is only what I read in the local papers, which is unfortunate. But this tax increase, if it's, I think Mr. Westbrook made the comment that was going to go for broadband. Why in the world would you put the tax on the local citizens when you haven't even tried to get that slice of pie that the government's going to dish out? They're going to spend a boatload of money, more money than anybody in this room can comprehend, whether it's half of what's proposed or not. And they got it, a line item in there for rural access broadband infrastructure. It's there. Why are you putting it on us when that is a place probably in a year and 18 months, it might be a reality where you can get in there and get it. And even the president last night said, yeah, that's where some of the money is going to go. And we may, if it does really infrastructure, instead of giveaways, which is a big part of it, we may even get a bridge out of it. But you're not even trying, I don't think, because like I said, the information is scarce to get the money. Or then, why weren't we part of the other 4 counties of the Northern Neck? I never heard any reason for that. I know that I've been on a fixed income for 22 years. You can imagine how that's eroded over the time with inflation and tax increases. I write a $3,000 check every December to Lancaster County. Y'all think that's not enough, evidently, want some more. And I personally get for that. I get to go to the dump down there off of Avenue Road every 10 days, 2 weeks, and throw 2 bags of trash in there. It cost me $3,000. That's what I get out of it personally. So it sounds like without the lack of information, it might be also a series of bad decisions that got us here tonight. But how have we got here? If that is a possibility, why shouldn't you explore every single opportunity out there before you put a tax on us? And, well, you go ahead, I was going to say, you're sitting there bubbling.
You finish, and then I got several things I want to.
Yeah, if you can correct me for stuff I say wrong, I'd love to hear it because I can't find it anywhere else. It would be great. And I wouldn't think with the federal government dishing out stimulus checks and trying to keep small businesses going, restaurants open, and all that we've been through, that y'all want to go down as your contribution to the pandemic of 2021 is a tax increase. That's your contribution. So now, go ahead, let me hear it.
I'm going to address your broadband questions first. The Broadband Authority applied for government money, federal money. It was a USDA Rural Utility Services Reconnect Grant. It was a $33 million grant. It would have brought fiber to every home in Lancaster County. We hired a consultant to help with that preparation. That consultant's fee was $50,000. It was a 314-page application. That was submitted in March of 2020, okay? Hopefully you heard the LCBA chairman, Cassie Thompson, say earlier that we just got word last week that we did not get that grant. So I know you're talking about future federal money, but we've already been to that well.
Well, but that well, Don, is going to be deeper this time,
But-
and it's probably going to be more prevalent that they're going to throw it out there.
But they've already seen everything that we proposed, and they shot us down. So I don't think that's a realistic avenue to pursue.
It boils down to all the federal money is going to the biggest campaign contributors.
Didn't hear you, Jay.
Pretty much all the federal money is going to the biggest campaign contributors, so the Dominion Energies and the big people like that can write the big campaign checks to people like Rob Whitman, who then go to Washington and lobby on behalf. That's why we didn't get the money, because it went to Dominion and other companies like that and ISPs that already have setups and can prove.
How come the other 4 counties of Northern Neck got it, but we?
All right, Rob.
That's a different part. That's part of the VDOT grant. We weren't in that first round because we couldn't be, because we were in the USDA Rural Rust grant. We were in the second round of VDOT, which was just awarded, and we are that same thing that was going to be done in the first round.
No. Let Gildy answer that. What you're referencing, the other 4 counties, that proposal, we had the opportunity to get into it when it was first proposed. Our Broadband Authority decided not to, and here's why. Because we had just paid $50,000 to the consultant to prepare the application and submitted it. And Dominion and APB told us that in order to be part of their proposal, we had to withdraw our application to the federal government. So we had just paid $50,000 to prepare it. We weren't going to do that. So what happened earlier tonight, and again, I hope you heard it, Dominion and APB came back to Lancaster and said, okay, here's another chance to join in with our regional effort. And we have jumped on that. We have signed the memorandum of understanding with Dominion and APB, and we're proceeding with that. So we are now part of that group.
Up front were just bad decisions up front till we get to here.
I don't think it was a bad decision. We had an opportunity to pursue federal money, $33 million worth, to provide fiber to the home, to every home in Lancaster County, paid a consultant $50,000 to help prepare that application. We weren't going to just throw that away. And we needed to find out if that application was going to be approved. We submitted it in March of 2020. We just heard last week, April of 21. So we didn't get that. We're now joined in with the other counties. Now, the fee for that is $575,000. But the other counties paid $650,000. So by waiting,
Well, you didn't waste any money then.
No, but so that's my broadband answers to your questions. The agreement that we're pursuing now with Dominion Energy and All Points Broadband, plus the VDOT grant that was just won in another regional effort that Lancaster is in with Middlesex, Matthews, and Caroline County, should serve all unserved customers in Lancaster County. So at a $575,000 price tag. Now, the match on the VDOT grant is $231,000, so that has to be added to it. But the board had approved up to $8.3 million to match the federal grant to get it done for the entire county. So we're on a course to still provide fiber to the home for the entire county, but at a much less cost. So that's my broadband answer.
one more.
Okay.
Can you go?
Before you go off of that, though, Mr. Gill, you covered it very well, but don't forget to mention what we've done with CARES money, too, in the broadband.
That's very true. I mean, with CARES money, we've taken some of the CARES money and installed 8, they're called smart poles, throughout the county to provide free internet service to folks for 1 year. And we've also got a CARES project on this cell tower behind the sheriff's office that's going to provide relatively high speed, no less than 25.3, within a 5-mile radius. Now, that's for 1 year. And I think the timing of the announcement tonight about our arrangement or joining in with the Dominion and APB project is going to work well with this CARES Act project, because unserved, according to Dominion and APB, is as of the date of the signing of that MOU. And so currently, there's nobody hooked up from this CARES Act tower. We can get them hooked up, give them a year's worth of service, cut it off, and then APB and Dominion says that they're going to start serving customers in August of 2022 and be finished by the end of 2024. So that's my quick answer to your broadband question. There's a lot that's happened.
Well, it's what you said is a hell of a lot more we can find out here on the street.
That is not true, sir.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. We have public meetings, we record those meetings, you could access, you could be here, you could watch the videos of those meetings. The information has been out there. We haven't hidden anything from you. You just have your head in the sand.
Mr. Kaiser.
You got yours in the cloud, because it ain't no way. I don't have access to that.
All right.
Well, you will, but, and I want to address one other point you made about services you get for the taxes you pay. You said all you get is the ability to go to the dump. I would add that Lancaster County has paid emergency medical services. They have police.
Fortunately, I haven't used fire department, the sheriff's department, or now.
Okay, well, that's where I was going with this.
Yeah.
So there's other services that are provided that, besides being able to go to one of the refuse collection sites.
Well, I know, I've contributed to it.
Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. Thank you very much.
Howard, call me anytime.
All right, anyone else? Yes, sir.
We'll go to lunch at the Willoughby's Food Trailer when it opens.
Good evening, George Bott, District 1. Since that news, I did attend the YouTube broadband meeting, and I got the brief by APB and Dominion, which looks incredibly attractive, for $650,000 minus a credit they're giving us for data that we already have that they need. So for $575, you get fiber down the River Road, for example, in areas that need it. However, what I'm addressing is the proposed increase in car tax tonight, because the stated reason for that was to fund broadband. A week ago, we were looking at probably $28 million, because that was the estimate over 5 years. Now we may be looking at 600,000 or 700,000, maybe 800,000. Glenn, would you bring up the alternative, please? This is one citizen's view of an alternative to raising tax rates on automobiles. Next slide, please. Again, the stated reason was to fund broadband. The costs and the approaches have been fluid, as we've learned a little bit today with the excellent synopsis by County Administrator Gill. The costs are pretty variable. I just put in the consortium costs, APB and Dominion, but we can add the VATI cost to that. Whatever they are, they need to be front-loaded, because you all want to do that now, and the citizens applaud your efforts. So we need that money in this coming year. Next slide, please, Mr. Rowe. Just to review, the tax rate increase is $1.71 from $2.04 to $3.75, raises about $1.3 million every year starting next year. Next slide, please. There's an alternative source of revenue with no increase in tax rates. According to the Wall Street Journal, housing prices across the nation are up at least 10%. If you do a Zillow search, which is probably more accurate, for Lancaster County, they're up probably 14%. I propose to capture the real estate added value by doing a off-year reassessment, not following our 5-year proposal, but do a reassessment in 2023. Next slide, please. The first column on the left, it would cost us about $250,000 if we hired a good company to do the reassessments. I repeat, get somebody good, because the last two weren't very good at all. The math is on the bottom. $2,679,000 is Commissioner of the Revenue's current number of taxable value of land county. Incidentally, we have about $9 million of property that isn't taxed in Lancaster County. Some of it's vacant land that might be sold and taxed. But if you do the math, that would produce $1,682,600,000 of. The slide says $1,688,000, close enough. For over that period of 4 years, including the cost, you generate $6.5 million without raising the tax rate. You don't have to re-advertise anything. There's still 63 cents per hundred of assessed value. Last slide, please. So if you wanted to implement an alternative to the car tax, my point would be the car tax is a regressive tax. It takes a larger share from lower earners. It's not going to affect me very much. I own a 50-year-old vehicle, a 27-year-old vehicle, a 10-year-old vehicle. My newest vehicle is 8 years old. It's not going to affect me. Not going to hurt me if you implement the 375. But for other folks, it's going to be significant. And we've just heard from Earth Resources, it could be very significant to some of those folks. Also, you have cash on hand of $6 million, which doesn't include the proposed increase in car tax. That's over your 7%.
Excuse me a second. Over the 7% reserve?
Yes, sir.
I think the total is around 6.8. The reserve has to account for some of that.
You have 2.6 of COVID money, sir, that's sitting off the budget that can be used legitimately for broadband.
2.6 million?
2.6 million at the last estimate that I had.
I'm not aware of it.
No, I think he's including the estimates from the upcoming American Relief Plan. Is that correct, George?
Yes.
Yes. We haven't received that yet, and that's going to come in 2 installments. One is going to come sometime this year, and then one is going to come 1 year after that.
And we don't know how much. We don't even know what the conditions are going to be on that money, but yet we're saying it can all be used for broadband.
Yeah,
The guidance has been, I sent out something the other day to give out the guidance for
Yeah.
how that money and when it was going to be distributed and how to go about getting it.
Yeah, well, it's, the estimate for Lancaster County is $2,075,000, split in 2 payments. And I know Mr. Bott is including that in his presentation.
Yeah, one of the issues I brought up previously is the CARES Act money, the COVID money is off this budget. We don't get the citizens don't get a total view of what's going on. So again, I propose reassessing without raising the tax rates. If broadband doesn't require it, you have another large capital request, which will need the funding if you agree with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
I was going to come along and say the same thing. As far as our cars, I can match George any day of the week, old cars. But the regressive point of this on lower income people, I think it's just too much. They use their cars to get to work and other things to do, and I would recommend not going as high. You may have to go up some, but certainly not 84% is Jeff Brown said, maybe 10% increase wouldn't be too bad. But think of the lower income people and not just this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Jack Hamill. I would like the board to consider an alternative to the personal property tax. That's a big jump in the tax, and just one vehicle that I have is raising the tax $255. The assessed tax, I don't know what I'll actually be paying. If you either reassess the real estate or maybe raise the rate just 1 cent, you'd come out a whole lot better off. In the village that I live in, I can make probably a dozen houses that the people live out of the state or out of the county, and they don't pay 1 cent on personal property tax. I just think there's got to be a better way than hitting the people with the personal property tax rate. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay. No other comments from the public hearing. I now declare the public hearing closed. Gentlemen, you all have any comments or anything you want to make? All right,
At this
okay.
point, I'll move for approval of the consensus docket.
Okay, so a motion has been made for the approval of the consensus docket. All in favor of approving the consensus docket?
Consensus docket.
Okay, we're moving along to the next one. All in favor of approving the consensus docket, say aye. Aye. Okay, that was a unanimous vote. All right, consideration
Salaries and-
docket. All right, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the expenditures in the total invoices, $639,525.56. Total payroll, $306,890.68 for a total of $946,416.24, of which CARES Act totals $8,186.44.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote, motion carries. All right. Board reports.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Troy Davenport to fill the District 1 vacancy that will come up effective June 1st for District 1.
For the Planning Commission?
For the Planning
For
Commission.
the Planning
excuse me.
Commission, all right. You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote, the motion carries, all right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to have us reappoint Tom Richardson to the Planning Commission from District 5.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor of reappointing Tom Richardson to the Planning Commission?
Yes, sir.
All right, from District 5, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's a unanimous vote as well. All right, any further board reports? I'd like to report this. We have here a certificate, and it says, United States Census 2020, thank you. The U.S. Census Bureau hereby recognizes County of Lancaster Board of Supervisors as an invaluable member of the 2020 Census Community Partnership and Engagement Program. We appreciate the efforts you made in making the partnership program a success and helping achieve a successful 2020 census. Signed, Dr. Stephen D. Dillingham, Director, U.S. Census Bureau. So I just wanted you to know that. All right. Any other board reports? County Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, I got two things. To Mr. Bott's point, remaining CARES Act balance from last year's funding is $593,304. And as I stated, we have not received any of the upcoming ARP funding, but the estimate for Lancaster County is $2,075,000 stretched out over 2 years.
Don, was it my understanding it sounded like that first round of that money was going to come sometime maybe in this, like June, July is what it sounded like?
I think so, but, yeah, I mean, who knows?
Don,
the CARES money that we got left right now, we do have some tentative plans for that.
Absolutely.
You're right, that's.
Absolutely.
I think we need to make that clear, you know, it's not just money that we, you know, gonna stash away somewhere.
Absolutely. We're not going to pay any of this back. I mean, I think one obvious place that it could go would be toward that $575,000 Dominion APB project.
That's right.
Yeah, so, but no, we're not going to have to pay any of it back.
And it seems like the new rounds of money has a lot more flexibility in what you can use it for than,
From what I read that you forwarded to me and was the same thing VACO put out, I agree, yes.
basically, it seems that it can be used for revenue.
Revenue replacement,
So
yeah.
basically a blank check.
Right. But until I see it from the U.S. Treasury, I'm hesitant to say that. So, the second point I want to make, Mr. Chairman, as you know, our current zoning officer, Pete Ranson, who's been with us for 24 years, is retiring. His last day is tomorrow. We have put out the advertisement for that job position. I tweaked it a little bit based on the fact that the board has put an emphasis on kind of stepping up our game in enforcement of zoning violations. And we had 3 candidates apply for that position. We have interviewed all 3. The interview committee selected unanimously one person. I've offered that position to this person. He has accepted, and he's here tonight, and I'd like to introduce him to you. It's Bill Farrell. Bill, please stand up if you would, and maybe come up here if you like. Bill is a current deputy sheriff with the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office. He has over 5 years' experience here with Lancaster, most recently as a school resource officer. He also had over 5 years additionally at Northern Neck Regional Jail. So looking at the emphasis that the board has placed on enforcement of zoning violations, we felt that who better to help us accomplish that than someone with law enforcement experience. So I will tell you that, that Bill has been very eager to learn the job. He was here this afternoon shadowing Pete, and his first day will officially be May 17th. And so, Bill, I introduce you tonight and welcome you aboard and introduce you to the Board of Supervisors.
Hello, gentlemen. Nice to meet a few of you I know. Just looking forward to the opportunity. I moved here in 2016, upper end of the county. I enjoyed being here, enjoyed working with you. I'll give you 110% every day I come to work, sir. So I'm really excited.
Welcome aboard.
A little bit of a jump, but
Bill, once you get settled in, you and I can sit and talk and go through the processes for enforcement. that we
most
use.
definitely, yes, sir.
Yeah. So thank you, Bill.
All right, thank you, sir.
We'll get your boots running right away.
The last thing I would mention is that, as I said, tomorrow is Pete's last day. He's been here 24 years. His coworkers have planned a luncheon here in this room tomorrow at 12, so if any of you can make it, you're more than welcome to come. And that's tomorrow at 12 o'clock right here. So.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Chairman, would it be appropriate for us to do some kind of recognition from the board?
I think that's appropriate, and we can, we can prepare a plaque like we've done in the past for long-serving employees and present that at an upcoming meeting.
Yep, I think that'd be a good idea.
I do too.
Yep.
Very appropriate.
All right, anything else? I'd entertain a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
All right, all in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous vote. We are now adjourned. Okay.
George, can you send me that slide?